Welcome to the Savvy Podcasting for Entrepreneurs podcast, a place for podcasters to learn what's actually working in the world of podcasting and how to use their podcast to generate consistent leads in their business. I'm your host, Jenny, and I'm so excited you're here. Hey guys, so it has been a couple of weeks since I put out a new episode of the podcast, and I truly apologize for that. Sickness has plagued our household yet again. If you can't tell, I'm still congested, but I'm on the mend. And my son got sick and he was out of daycare for the past 2 weeks. He went twice. So 10 days of daycare, he went twice. And then my husband and I both caught what he had. So it's just been a whirlwind of sickness over here. And yeah. And as you guys know, I'm a huge advocate for batching, but sometimes I don't always practice what I preach. I feel like a lot of times service providers are that way. They tell their clients to do things and they know that's the best thing to do, but then they don't always have the time or make the time to do it themselves. So unfortunately, I wasn't ahead in recording my episodes, which resulted in a lapse of releasing new content here, which sucks. But it is what it is. And crazy enough, even though I wasn't putting out new episodes, our downloads have continued to grow. So that's a plus. It's crazy. I looked at my analytics and I was like, whoa, I only put out 2 new episodes in September. And for some reason, it has been pretty consistent growth without putting out a ton of new episodes. So it just goes to show consistency is important, but you can take a break and people are still going to subscribe if you need to. Don't just continuously put out episodes when you don't have the time and energy. That's why batching is just so crucial, because you're able to do that ahead of time, get it all together. But yeah, so this week I'm planning on batching some episodes so that there will be no more unplanned breaks from the show, because consistency is just really important to me. And I love putting out episodes for you guys. So I want to be able to do that consistently without worrying about it. So now let's talk about why you're actually listening to this episode. And that's to talk about how to define your podcast success. So the answer to this question is just really going to vary, as they always do, because we all have different reasons for podcasting. So you may have your podcast so that you can build authority with your ideal audience, or maybe your main goal for your podcast is to generate new leads in your business. So if you're just looking for your podcast to serve as an authority builder, then you may care less about the download numbers and more about what your audience is saying about your content. And if you're using your podcast to generate new leads, then your success also likely doesn't depend on downloads either, but more about how many of your listeners are actually taking the next step into your funnel. So they're signing up for your freebies or whatever that next step for you is. They're just getting into your funnel in some way, shape, or form. So as business owners, that is the primary audience here. And if you're a business owner and you're looking to use your podcast strategically, then I think you should focus on these 3 metrics in this order of importance. So number 1, we have leads. Number 2, we have the 30-day episode downloads. I think it's important to track your episodes over a 30-day basis versus just the day they go live, because the downloads can continue to accumulate. And then lastly, we have the monthly downloads. So now let's dive into each of these individually. So first up, leads. So this is something you definitely need to be tracking, whether it's opt-ins to your freebies, signups to your masterclass, your summit, people booking a discovery call with you, etc. This is all needs to be tracked, and you should be using URLs that are only shared on your podcast episodes so that you know exactly where the lead came from. Because if you use the same links that you use everywhere, you're not going to know that it came from your podcast, and thus you can't really track the results, which is really crucial. So use different URLs. It's pretty easy to set up, especially if you have WordPress. You can use a plugin called Pretty Links and just shorten those URLs. If you don't have WordPress and you have Squarespace or something else, there's Bitly and Rebrandly. I will link those in the show notes as well, but you can use those tools to shorten your links and use them on your podcast. So to me, this is really the most important metric, because it gets people further into your funnel, and then it allows you to continue to connect with them on a deeper level, not just you talking at them in their headphones or, whatever each week. You are able to email them and engage with them on a deeper level, which really helps. So next up, we have the 30-day episode downloads. So tracking your 30-day episode downloads helps you really just see which topics are resonating with your listeners, so you can do more episodes like that. And I think, like I mentioned earlier, the 30-day download is important because it gives the episode time to actually accumulate those downloads, and you're not just tracking after the first 7 days or something. It's just more accurate that way. And then you can just really kind of see, okay, cool. I put these 5 episodes this month. this episode was number 1 downloaded. So my people really like this. Let me do more like this. And just helps you figure out what content is resonating with your people so that you can do more of it. And thus it'll be more aligned for them. And you'll get just better results that way. So I think that's really important to keep track of. So you know what people want to listen to, what they want to hear from you. That's just the best way to do it. Unless you want to do like a survey or something, just seeing what people are downloading, super, super helpful. I just wanted to quickly interrupt this episode to chat a little bit about my 5 mistakes you're probably making with your podcast guide. So if you've been podcasting for a bit and you want to make sure that you're not making any of these mistakes, you can head over to savvypodcastingforentrepreneurs.com/mistakes and grab your free guide today. All right, let's get back into the episode. All right, so last up, we have monthly downloads. So obviously this metric doesn't really tell you too much, but if this number is growing every single month, your monthly downloads number, even slightly, then that's a good thing because it shows that your show is being served to more and more people, and more people are deciding to subscribe and tune into your episodes, which is always a good thing. So that's another great metric to keep track of. Those are the 3 I always track every month for myself and my clients. And I think it's just important to keep track of those. Podcasting, unfortunately, does not give us too much data. That's kind of like all we're left with. Unfortunately, there's nothing like Google Analytics for podcasts. That would be really nice because you'd get a lot more information. But to me, those are the top 3 metrics. Of course, you can track the region that your people are coming from and the city and the state and things like that too. That's good to know as well. But these are what's really going to make an impact, and you can really use this to serve your audience better. You can't really use data in terms of like where they're located to serve your audience better. It's cool to know, but it's not really going to help you make these big moves in your business or with your podcast. So all of that to say is there is no one true metric to define a podcast success because everyone's goals are going to be different, but these are really just the 3 ones that I find the most beneficial for people to keep track of on a monthly basis. Make sure you're tracking your podcast stats monthly. Like, it's not that hard. It takes about 3 minutes to track all these numbers down. So just do it. It's just going to help you make decisions with your podcast, make sure that you're using it strategically, and just so you're not wasting your time with it, because no one wants to waste their time. So make sure you're keeping track of these 3 things. Promise, it's going to be worth it. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Which of these metrics do you track, if any, and which one is the most important to you personally? Because that might be different than what I think is the most important. So to talk about it, head over to Instagram at Jenny Suneson. So that's JennySuneson, and let me know. I'd love to chat with you guys about it because being able to chat with you guys in my DMs is like my favorite thing to do. So I'm really looking forward to your input. So I'll see you there. But if you guys want to check out the show notes for the episode and get the link for like Bitly, Rebrandly, and Pretty Link plugin, you can head over to savvypodcastingforentrepreneurs.com, and I'll see you in the next episode.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast player like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Stitcher, and leave a review. You can find us at savvypodcastingforentrepreneurs.com and on Facebook at Savvy Podcasting for Entrepreneurs and Instagram at Savvy Podcasting. Make sure to join our free Facebook community for podcasters by going to savvypodcastingforentrepreneurs.com/community and join in on the exclusive community just for Savvy Podcasting for Entrepreneurs listeners. I'll see you there.